what have you been seeing when it comes to B2B businesses using the platform? Is there any tactics that have been the most impactful in your opinion?
The content that you see on LinkedIn depends on your network. Really depends on the connections that you already have. Your target audience will not come to you. You have to go on LinkedIn, look for them, look for those who are active, find their posts, engage with them, and even to a certain extent, I call it content-based networking. Create content that is for them.
Having the right audience in your group already is really, really important. So it could be that you might actually have to begin unconnecting with certain people, or just start working towards building through content as well, but also going old school in the sense of biz dev and going outreach, reconnecting with different groups.
Hi, I'm Andrew Tran. I help organizations find their strategic purpose and enable them to create amazing customer experiences. I've been in the game of marketing and sales for over 15 years across various roles, from cutting my teeth on the sales room floor to strategizing and executing truly transformational projects that have made an impact on customers. On this show, I speak to business professionals from around the world in areas of leadership, branding, marketing, and sales.
Mr. Bob Lowe, what's going on?
Hey Andrew, what's going on?
How's Malaysia going?
Malaysia is coming back up. Tourists are coming back, and we are having. We can also go out, so it's being good, and lots of businesses going around as well.
Yeah, nice.
And how's Vietnam?
Vietnam is going really, really well. I think we were talking pre-call about the funny things that you're kind of seeing as tourists now, because for 2 years you haven't seen any tourists come through, and then all of a sudden you're seeing a lot more different types of tourists coming in, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then certain, I wouldn't say red light district, it's more like the party district of Saigon. It's starting to slowly come alive, but it's not 100% there yet. I think when the government begins to open up border restrictions a little bit easier, so hopefully like in Q3 later this year, like hopefully that should be good. All right, man. So for anyone who's watching or listening, big thank you for joining us today. So with today, the conversation, I really want to talk to Bob. If you haven't bothered to listen to the intro at the beginning, today we're going to talk about all things LinkedIn. We're going to talk about the anatomy of dominating LinkedIn in 2022. But as a bit of an icebreaker, if someone asked you, they had 48 hours in KL, what should I do? What would you suggest, and why?
That is a very funny question, and I will say this anyway. And I might get cancelled for this, but I'll say don't come to KL. Don't come to KL. I will say this. Okay, Malaysia is amazing. I'm Malaysian. I love Malaysia, but I hate KL. Sorry to say this. I might get cancelled, but I just say it anyway. If you come to Malaysia, don't come to KL. Go to the East Coast. That's where the beautiful beaches are. Go to Borneo. That's the oldest island in the world. The most beautiful beaches, the highest peak in Southeast Asia, Mount Kinabalu is, and I love going there. Go to Penang for food, but don't come to KL. So KL is like a city, metropolis. I'm here for business, good for, not that, maybe good for shopping, but there's no nature here, no nice beaches. So that's what I'm all about. So my answer is don't come to KL, go to the rest of Malaysia.
All right, well noted. I've always actually wanted to head over to Malaysia anyway and just have a bit of fun, mostly in Penang, but Borneo sounds pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, Borneo is very beautiful, very underrated. Not many people know about it, but has the world's most beautiful beaches. I didn't say it. Like, you can look it up. Lonely Planet. You know Anthony Bourdain? Yeah, he's been to Vietnam a lot. One of his favorite breakfasts is the Sarawak Laksa, which is in Sarawak, and Sarawak is a big state in Borneo, so it's quite. That's a place to be.
All right, I'll put that on my list.
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you for sharing. So, like I said, I want to use this episode for anyone who's watching or listening as a massive inspiration for them to take action on their LinkedIn profiles and use it for their business. So, for anyone who isn't familiar with you and your work, Bob, what exactly do you do?
I help businesses to generate leads and to build brands on LinkedIn. So the reason is because we have a lot of social media, like businesses have to be on social media, and you have social media today, like apps like TikTok, apps like Instagram. So a number of years ago, I saw the opportunity for businesses to be on social media, and they still are. Not all of them are on social media. Like all the companies that you work with, all those consultancies or agencies, they can't be on TikTok like dancing or pointing fingers. So the most educational platform is LinkedIn, and I'm very passionate about that. And I do help Fortune 500 companies to be on the platform. I help influencers to grow on the platform as well, coaches, etc. And it's the platform to be if you're looking to educate and also to give value to your audience.
How big is the LinkedIn community in Malaysia specifically?
It's about 5 million. It's about 5 million. So I think also a follow-up to your question is like sometimes people ask me this question, like what would play a role in LinkedIn being popular in a country? Is LinkedIn is very much for service-based industries. For example, if you told me, hey Bob, I'm looking to get to sell coffee machines to restaurant owners, or then I'll say LinkedIn is not the right place to be. It's for service-based industries. For example, consultancies, financial industry, tech to a certain extent. They are on LinkedIn as well. So it's very service-based. So when it comes to the country, no matter where you are, Singapore, Vietnam, or Middle East or Europe, it's the bigger the service industry is, the more bigger the LinkedIn community is.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a lot of coaches pop up.
Actually, I would like to add to that. That's a good point. And this is something I share a lot in the webinar as well. I host like almost like a weekly webinar on getting clients on LinkedIn. And to me, the top 3 industries in my experience. So I also help companies with generating leads on LinkedIn. That means to get leads that are interested in their product or service. So the top 3 industries they are very good for lead generation if you're doing any is number 1, human resource. So anyone in a human resource function. So this applies to Vietnam as well. So anyone in recruitment. So LinkedIn is primarily still a recruitment and job portal. It's primarily still that, right? So recruitment. Yes, it is. It is. It still is. It's their main revenue. It's their main LinkedIn jobs gives LinkedIn millions of dollars every day. LinkedIn jobs. Recruiters, anyone in learning and development. So basically anyone in a company that is in the human resource function. They are very active on LinkedIn, and it's part of their job to be on LinkedIn. It's part of their job to be on LinkedIn looking for talents and looking for training services. Number 2 is people like you and me, the marketers, the marketing, advertising, and sales people. And number 3 are, like you said, the professional training and coaching industry. So on LinkedIn, if you look for the industries, it's called professional training and coaching, and you will see a lot of coaches on LinkedIn, and it's a good reason to be because, like I said in the beginning, it's a place to educate. People are looking to learn. So besides the job portal, LinkedIn is the only platform with a learning module. So you have like LinkedIn Learning. So that's the only platform, one of the only platforms that people are looking to learn. So that's why coaches are there as well.
Yeah, I find though, as there are more coaches on the platform, there's going to be a lot more noise. So I think for people who are watching or listening, whether or not you're a performance-based coach or you're an executive coach or whatever, there's actual reasons to really look at and getting services like yourself and like myself as well when it comes to actually updating your personal profile. Because, at the end of the day, when people buy, they buy from you. They buy because they like you. Yeah, the products or services are similar. So if you take it from a professional coaching perspective, like one executive coach versus another executive coach, they could be quite similar. Similar in terms of its background, similar in terms of its experience. But then it's the connection you get between the prospect and the actual, the seller or the coach is what creates that difference between them, and then therefore gives that prospect that reason to actually want to be that particular coach over another person as well. So I think for anyone who's watching, listening, this is a really, really important lesson coming through. Just to touch on your point with regards to HR, I think I see HR quite a lot, and I know that LinkedIn at some point, like maybe in the last few years, has been kind of focusing a lot more on personal development from a personal branding perspective. So yes, I think I agree with you in the total beginning, where LinkedIn initially, when they came on board, when they started as one way of differentiating themselves against all the other social platforms, was to kind of gear itself as we're the job network platform, we're the professional job network platform. But I think over time, it's started to evolve and mature as a platform, and it's starting to see that there is an opportunity for key professional individuals like yourself and other kind of clients that you kind of work with who are in like that C-suite decision maker level to really kind of stand out, whether or not that they're fishing for a new job or they're trying to give back into that industry as a thought leader. That's where I think this platform really, really helps. But dude, I want to get into it a lot more. And I have a question with regards to what you're seeing. So what have you been seeing when it comes to B2B businesses using the platform? Is there any tactics that have been the most impactful in your opinion?
That's a great question, Andrew. So I also want to add to what you said just now. You said you've seen a lot of coaches on LinkedIn, and that's 100% right. Coaches are more vocal, and their business requires them to create a lot of content. So I will also have a disclaimer to that. I had a coach who worked with me recently, and she also said that there are a lot of coaches on LinkedIn. So she might think that her target audience she's looking to work with, business leaders, might not be on LinkedIn. And actually, that is not true. The content that you see on LinkedIn depends on your network. Really depends on the connections that you already have. So I might have a guess that, Andrew, you have a lot of coaches in your network as well. So the reason why I say this is because currently I have a group program called the LinkedIn Content Challenge, and one of the gentlemen in there is someone who is in the lighting business. So he helps companies to conserve energy by providing lighting solutions. So it's a very niche market, and he is based in the US. Very niche market. And one exercise that we did is very important that we did was to find his target market that was active on the platform. So when it comes to LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn, but not everyone is on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's just say that not everyone is active on the platform. So no matter what your target client is, what your industry you're looking for, you need to find those that are active. That means those, so how I define that is those that posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. So then I will deem them as active. At least they made a post or two in the past 30 days. So when we looked at, so for this client who was offering lighting solutions, when we looked at facilities manager, so it's very niche, facilities manager in New York. Okay, facilities managers is not the most sexy industry to be in. Facility managers is very niche, and we could find hundreds of them in New York that are active on LinkedIn, that posted on LinkedIn about hiring or sharing articles, etc. So it's really about the network that you build. So when I work with these clients, I will say, don't only post content for your existing network, actively seek out the industries. So you have to define, number one, the industry that you're looking for. So that this gentleman, it was facilities manager. Number two, define the positions. So it might not be facilities managers, it might be CFOs, it might be CEOs, it might be CTOs. So you have to actively look for them. They will not come to you. Like, one of the biggest mistakes I see on LinkedIn is a lot of people posting content to their existing audience. And if you and me, our existing audience would be our peers, our ex-colleagues, people from high school maybe. And it doesn't work that way. Your target audience will not come to you. You have to go on LinkedIn, look for them. Number 3, look for them by the company size, and last one by their location. Look for them. Look for those who are active. Find their posts, engage with them, and even to a certain extent, I call it content-based networking. Create content that is for them, and maybe even react to their content. So it's about finding that target audience, no matter the niche, as long as it's active on LinkedIn. You can find those that are active on LinkedIn. When it comes to B2B businesses, I would say, for example, we are in Asia, okay? So most of the SMEs are not on LinkedIn. Most of them are not. So let's be very clear on that. But there are those that are active. So don't go for the mass. Go for those that are already active, and those will get you the best results.
I like how you said before, you really need to define who your target audience is and really define like that niche going forward. And then kind of, there's like for tactic wise, like a really easy way of kind of figuring it out is to firstly, like if you were to go on your desktop, then go into connections, and then off the back of that connections, then you can kind of search between your first and second degree connections. And if you're wondering, hey, how do I begin that outreach type of program for yourself and in terms of content you want to create, you want to probably click on that second degree outreach, right? And then you can start to filter. You can filter based on the different industry groups. You can even filter based off like their title as well, like keywords as well. And off the back of that, then you can start looking at exactly what you just said. Go through certain individuals, see how active they are, whether or not they post themselves or they are active on other people's posts. I think that's also another thing, because I do meet some C-levels who don't post, right? Or they're in between posts is like a year or 6 months in between, but they're pretty active in the sense that they like other people's content, or they even comment on other people's content as well. So having a look at like what they do and their behavior before you going out, and that's why I think instead of going through that scattergun approach, which I think a lot of people have done in the past, and they're starting to pay for it right now, where they might have like 10,000 followers on their LinkedIn account, but then when they post something, only like 2 or 3 people engage, and they're typically HR people, like first level HR execs who are just trying to connect with as many prospects as they can, and they just use LinkedIn. So just connect with me on LinkedIn, and you connect with them, but they don't post anything meaningful. All they do is just post jobs, and as a result, hardly anyone will engage. And so, finding those right people is really, really important. And then, like you said, having the right audience in your group already is really, really important. So it could be that you might actually have to begin unconnecting with certain people, or just start working towards building through content as well, but also going old school in the sense of biz dev and going outreach and reconnecting with different groups as well. So I think that's really, really important, and it's really great that you kind of share some of those tactics that has added like impact for B2B companies.
Yeah, awesome, Andrew. Yes, that's 100% agree. I'm also one of the few people in Southeast Asia that does training for LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and I do training around the region to utilize this powerful sales tool on LinkedIn. So what you said just now with the searching for second connections and doing them by the field of the title and by the location, so that comes with the free LinkedIn. But if you take it to the next level, when it comes to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it has a function called Spotlights. Okay, so I actually love it, and I teach a lot of my clients this. So the one that I mentioned to you, you said they need to post content recently. So that if you do all the searches on Sales Navigator, there's one button that you can click, and it will choose only profiles that posted in the last 30 days. So that saves a lot of time. And then they also can have a number of spotlights. They also can do who has recently changed job roles as well. So if you're like, let's say you're a consultant, you help companies with marketing consulting, business consulting. So you might want to also look for those who recently changed their jobs, because they are bringing a new wind of change, and they might want to just talk to you as well. And so you can find the recently changed jobs in 90 days, those that are featured on media. So those who posted on LinkedIn, and if you're searching for companies, there's also one that I super love is you can find companies that recently raised funds. And me and you would know what that means, right? So recently raised funds. So that all that advanced searches are on Sales Navigator. And also one more that I also love is you can actually search for companies with Sales Navigator, not only by their company size, but by their size of the department. For example, if let's say, Andrew, you help companies with a certain size of marketing department that they need to have at least 3 to 5 or 10, or some of the clients that I help, they need to find companies with a support team, at least a 10-person support team, because they help them with customer support solutions. So you can find companies with a certain size in that department. So if you're selling HR software or accounting software, you can go for companies with very specific sizes of their department as well. So that's what I love. But anyway, if you like to know more about this, I don't work for LinkedIn. So if you get Sales Navigator, I don't get a cut. But if you like to know more, I would love to share more about the Sales Navigator as well.
Yeah, and we'll put the links like in the show notes below anyway. But actually, that's a good segue. You kind of answered some of it, but I wanted to kind of know like what are the common lead gen tactics that consultants and salespeople use on LinkedIn as their social selling tool?
Actually, I don't. I would say the common lead gen tactics are very bad. So I would say I don't. I would say common ones are like, and you see a lot on LinkedIn, is like sending cold messages in the inbox. So that's very common. And
if anyone's listening, cold message means like they just connect and they don't add anything personal towards it.
not only that, they connect and then they say, hey, I offer this coaching service. Would you like to know more? I host this webinar. So that's the cold message. Not common, but for me, the lead generation method that works for me very well on LinkedIn right now, I do content. Okay, so for me, the best sales tactic on LinkedIn is not to sell. It's really not to sell, and you're doing this as well. Not selling. You're not selling. You are educating. So the best form of sales or lead gen on LinkedIn is through education. So I call it an exchange of value. That means when someone learns something from you. So Andrew, you're in my WhatsApp group and you create content like 2-3 times a week, and I can imagine that really helps to build your brand and helps to get you more opportunities as well. So 2 ways to have an exchange of value. Number one is through content, and I do get a fair amount of leads from content. So because there's an exchange of value, someone learns something from you and they're interested and they want to learn more and they want to work with you. So that if you look at most of the LinkedIn advertising on the platform as well, you would see they are sharing ebooks, guides, webinars. So it's also they are aiming to have the exchange of value, especially when it comes to B2B. It's very much educational. It's not for transactional sales. Like no one is there selling this mic, or no one is there like selling commodities. And another more efficient way to have this exchange of value, and I highly advocate this. I had this conversation with you the other day, Andrew, is to run LinkedIn events. Okay, so the webinars are still the best way to have this exchange of value, where number one, if someone attends your webinar, they are the most basic things, they're interested in the topic. They are not there to learn something else. And number two, LinkedIn is good for this is because with the LinkedIn events, it's the only events platform that invites people for you without you doing. You need to invite a good number of people. So what happens is, like, if Bob, me, and Andrew attend an event, it will tell our connections, hey, Bob, Andrew, and Sam are attending this event. Would you like to attend it too? And it will keep showing up. So it's the only event platform that will grow organically. And I have some events that are now 4,000 attendees right now on LinkedIn. And that's my best lead generation tool because it's very educational based, and also I collect emails, and Andrew, you know what's the value of emails, so there's a lot of things happening there.
I think that growth hack is really, really important. So if anyone's watching or listening, you're essentially creating an event, and then you're tinkering with like the end dates a little bit to kind of help kind of game it. But then what you said is really impactful and important, which is so long as like your connections are connecting with it and engaging with that particular event as an attendee, for instance, it creates a snowball effect. And the good thing about like LinkedIn as an algorithm, it's not ephemeral type of moment. So it's not like you post once and then it just dies like really quickly within 24 hours, like you would see in like an Instagram story, for instance. Like it's ephemeral, it only stays for 24 hours and then it disappears, right? But with LinkedIn, like when you have those type of events, it can stay for quite a long time. Like it could stay for days or even a week, like depending on the lead time that you have for that particular event. If you have a long lead time, then obviously it's going to be in that algorithm. And then similar to any kind of campaign that you do, like whether or not you do LinkedIn campaigns or just general kind of digital campaigns, you can have a kick. So whenever you start posting about it or linking back to it, it has a minor kick to it. So if you can think of a graph, you have that initial spike when you launch your event, but then it dies down a little bit and then it kicks up again as you talk more about it, and then it leads into it. So it creates a snowball effect. So I think that is a really good tip.
Yeah, that's a good tip because as you said, Andrew, it's an amazing tool because it will grow organically, and it will grow in the beginning as well. But also, in my experience, it will continue to grow and it will have different spikes as long as you keep the event alive as well. And yeah, if you go to LinkedIn right now, you can do a quick search for the events in the industry. Just put in the keywords and then change the type to event, and then you'll find the different events in your industry with that keywords.
Just moving on, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on what you think 2022 will be like. And we're seeing a lot of bots, or not bots, but pods that are happening right now. And I think I do believe in pods, but I also believe in the quality of that pod. It has to be really, really important. Otherwise, you can game the system, but at the same time, if you do that, you're not necessarily going to generate leads for you. You're just going to generate vanity likes. But I wanted to kind of get your kind of viewpoint on this. Like, do you see an emphasis on the individual's profile's engagement rate over the vanity metrics coming into 2022?
When it comes to content, the most important thing is 50% of content is creation. So only 50% of content creation is creation. Actually, the other 50% is in the distribution. So what I call distribution, that means getting your content in front of the right people. And as you said, the vanity metrics, which is what we call engagement. So getting in front of the right people and also getting the right engagement for the content. And we all know the more comments, likes that your content gets, the more reach it gets, the more it travels. So not only we want more comments, likes, and shares, but we want it in the first few hours of that content being posted. So one of the things that we do is, like you said, sharing the links in pods or good places. But the pods actually is not the be-all end-all. It's not the magic solution. Even if you're in a pod, so like you said, Andrew, it depends on the quality of the pod, and you're in one of mine as well with some of my peers in Malaysia. So it really depends on the quality of the pod, and it also depends on the relationships that you build in the pod. You can be in a pod of hundreds or even tens of people, and if you don't put in good quality content in there, and if you don't build relationships in there, the pod actually does not help too much. I've had clients who were in pods, in different websites, in very active pods as well. But once they start creating better content, once they start knowing how to build relationships on the platform, that's where it really helps as well. And pods are only one way to distribute content. Actually, there are a number of ways as well, which I do share in my LinkedIn content challenge. And it's a few things. Number one, you can actually tag connections or LinkedIn accounts that will find that content relevant. So not only just tagging them to get their attention, but when you tag them, it needs to be relevant to them, and you need to ask them a question. Don't just tag them for attention's sake. You need to ask them a question and also tag them if it's relevant. Number two is sharing the links in relevant places. Number three is using the relevant hashtags as well. So I have a list of top 30 most followed hashtags on LinkedIn. So if you include one of these hashtags, it will actually get a lot of better reach for your content. And if you trend for one of these hashtags, it will really help. One of the signs that I look for in my clients' content to know if it's performing the best is to look for if there are any third connections. That means just now we mentioned the second connections. If any third connections are commenting or liking the post, that means your content is doing the best. So how do you get that? It's by including the right hashtags. And one last way to distribute the content, and if you're writing a LinkedIn article, you might want to consider doing this as well, is to send the LinkedIn content to your email subscribers. So I just mentioned 4 ways to distribute the content. So the key is to remember it's about getting the content in front of the right people and getting them to engage. So you can use any other ways as well. It does not have to be just pods. If you have a Telegram group, if you have any other sorts of media, like if you have, let's say you have a Discord, or you have an email list, or whatever you have, it's about getting this content in front of the right people and in whatever means that you have. So that's about content distribution.
Yeah, nice. So it leads me to the second point, which was like, look, like, you know, pretty much the first part of 2022 has kind of finished off, right? So everyone's kind of looking towards like Q3, Q4, so the second half of 2022. So, you know, in your opinion, what are the common, or what are the most impactful content types you think will create that impact for consultants when it comes to either developing that long tail lead coming through?
What's a long tail lead?
So a long tail lead is like something that you don't necessarily get straight away. Very rare that you will be able to get a lead when they look at your content straight away, because they've just discovered you, or, you know, they either seen you through friend for friend, right? The second round connection. So a long tail lead is someone that you're engaging, or they've engaged with your content piece over a given period of time, or they've started to know about you and your profile over a given period of time, slightly longer period of time. And for a lot of, you know, the next kind of subset question around that is like, well, how long is a long tail lead? And it really depends. The answer is it really, really depends on your type of audience and your type of target. For people like you and I, Bob, where it's like, you know, C-suites, for instance, Fortune 500 companies or bigger, it might take longer because they don't know who you are. So it will take longer because they need to be comfortable with your content. They need to agree with the type of content. They want to be able to hopefully engage with some of your content pieces, not just likes, but also commenting. But they also want to see you as a sales consultant, or as an expert, comment on what they're doing as well. So they feel like they've been involved. And that's community building 101, you know, when it comes to it and everything. So that's why I guess the question for you is like, there's different types of content that you can post on LinkedIn. What do you think, you know, are the ones that are going to be the most impactful coming into 2022? Besides, I know you just said like events is one of the big ones, but what about individual posts? Like, what kind of posts do you reckon will work?
Awesome. Great question. I love to answer this question. So Andrew, you're right on point. One of the things that I really like that you said was you said engaging. So for busy business owners or busy consultants like yourself, I would say prioritize engaging. Like, go and do. So first things first, look for your target audience. Just don't go with your default feed. Go in, like for example, if we are looking for CEOs in Vietnam, find those. And I'm not sure if this is in Vietnam yet, but there's a new function this year called the bell notification icon. Like if you go to a profile, follow it, there's a bell that which you can turn on, and then turn on these for your target clients. Turn it on and start engaging with their posts, commenting and liking their posts. That's more important than actually posting content, because you want to be a supporter, you want to give value first. Secondly is to start posting content, and I post content a number of times per week. And to me, the best content this year, actually there's an evolution when it comes to content. Actually, if you're looking to get the attention of these business leaders, is to really talk about them. Don't talk about yourself, don't talk about your expertise. So what I would do, for example, I recently also had an article called like top 10 CEOs to follow in Malaysia, and I did it for Australia as well and for Hong Kong and different countries. So what I would do is I would look through their content and see what they are posting. So I'll find those CEOs, for example, who are active. And the best way to get their attention is not to post about yourself, but for example, if they posted an article about, let's say they posted an article about Earth Day, or they posted an article about Mental Health Month, and what you can do is to react to that article. Hey, I said, I saw Andrew posting about this last week, and then this is my take on it. That is much better content than any sort of content that you could put out. So I encourage, I call it reactionary post, but it's basically using your ideal client's content, reacting to them, or you can create a piece of content and you can feature them as well. So for example, if I were to create like a list of CEOs to follow on LinkedIn in Vietnam, okay, so if I were to create that, then they will be featured, and I will send that article to them as well. So that is called content-based networking, because I don't see content as just a tool to communicate, but I see it as a tool to network. And you're doing a good job at this as well, Andrew. So like you have a podcast and you interview different guests. So one of the most effective ways to do this content-based networking is to have a podcast and then reach out to these CEOs. I say, hey, I have this podcast, and I have a mission to, let's say, to help businesses in Asia, and would you like to guest on this? So you can interview Fortune 500 CEOs with this. And normally they would say yes, because it's number one, free publicity. Number two, they like to provide value. It's a good opportunity for you to have this conversation with them. So that builds rapport and will come to a lot of things that you might not think of, because that it's a good excuse to have with them. Like most of them won't have coffee with you. No of them won't have coffee with anyone, not only you. But when you have a podcast, it's a good excuse to have a conversation with someone. So I call it content-based networking. So just to recap a few ways to do it. Number one, I would react to posts. I would create a post in response to one of their posts. Number two, I would feature them in lists, in articles. For example, top 10 business leaders to follow in Vietnam. I would create a feature article. Number three, which requires more work, is to interview them in podcasts or articles or whatever. But it's a good opportunity for you to do that. And that builds a very strong relationship as well. So for me, I'm a high advocate of this. It's very targeted, but it's more effective if you do it this way and speak to your target audience and tailor your content to them as well.
To tap on that point, like you almost have to be a channel, right? So like one of the things that I was able to kind of really see with LinkedIn over the last 2 years, and this was after speaking to one of my earlier guests on my podcast. Her advice was be your own channel and commit to that and create content around that channel. Like if you were your own television station, what kind of content would you provide? You know, and that was like, that was like a spark, and that enabled me to kind of then create content on a regular basis, work with individuals like yourself and other business leaders and experts, and talk about leadership, branding, marketing, and sales, and then kind of lead on to more things coming through. So I think what you're saying is definitely correct. Some of the things that you've just said about creating that article to highlight, feature them, that runs into that psychology when it comes to like, I guess, stroking someone's ego, to put it in a really blunt way. But at the same time, you're giving credit where credit's due, and you're just highlighting. What you're doing is just, you're really like, hey, I want to feature you within my community because I think what you're doing is fantastic. And it's true. It's not like they're not creating good content. They are creating good content. You just want to kind of give them a bit of highlight. They just happen to be, a C-suite that you kind of want to talk to.
Yeah, you can do it for a lot of things. Like I have branding design clients who work with me, and they work with sustainable brands. So for example, you can create like top 10 sustainable brands in Vietnam, or it doesn't have to always like people to follow on LinkedIn. It can be top 10 human resource leaders or top 10 marketing leaders as well. So it needs to be something specific, and there are already articles out there, but you can do your own research as well. And it has to have, like you said, give where it's due. That they are really deserve to be in those lists as well.
Yeah, and going back to what you said earlier in this conversation is that value exchange, or exchange value, that you kind of put it out. It's like creating value, but doing it in a little bit more eloquent sense coming in. But hey, Bob, I know we're running out of time, but one of the things I wanted to do, and one of the things I do is ask people like yourself, all my guests, a single advice question. And for yourself, one of the things I want to do is, what advice would you give to a C-suite or a sales leader when it comes to improving their lead quality coming in and using LinkedIn?
Oh, that's a good question. So for me, it's you will find, so as I mentioned throughout this presentation, find your target audience, those are in the right industry, position, location, etc. And the next step to that, if you're a consultant or if you are in B2B sales, is to find whether they have a challenge or pain point, or if they have a goal that they want to achieve that you can help. So if you find, oh, this is a Fortune 500 CEO, you wouldn't go and say, hey, here's my website, here's my portfolio, would you like to work with me? So it does not work that way. You need to have conversations with them. You can even use certain tools, or you can invite them to a webinar. If they attend the webinar, or if you use, like I use a certain tool as well called like a poll as well, just to get their feedback and see if they have certain challenges that I can help. For example, you help businesses with marketing. So you can, like, let's say you right now you have thousands of followers on LinkedIn. What you can easily do is to create a poll and to make sure that they vote. They need to vote, not anyone else have to vote. Your target audience needs to vote. And you can ask them what is their biggest challenge for marketing in 2022 so far. So you can say getting high quality leads, getting traffic to their website. So other marketing challenges like maybe retaining the client, retaining customers. So when someone votes on these and they are your target client, they are CEO or they are marketing director, that means whether or not they work with you, they have a problem that you can solve. So the key is to getting high quality leads is to find those that they have a problem that you can solve. If you find those, whether or not they work with you, you can give them free advice. They might not be able to afford you, but as long as you find them, there are opportunities for you to help them. And you can either give them some advice, or they can become a paid client as long as you find them. So that is the biggest challenge. And if you can find these that have a problem that you can solve, it's only a matter of time before you work with them.
Yeah, I like how you use polls. Polls is something that you're seeing quite a lot on the platform already. To some degree, you can make an argument that it's been overused a touch, but I still find like it is quite effective because it's a low touch it's not low touch. It is a high touch, but it's like a low energy or low resource state of engagement, because essentially everyone loves polls. Everyone has an opinion, but then they just can't be bothered sometimes to write a comment. So engaging with that either through a click really, really helps. And it really helps game the system as well. Like, for anyone who's new to LinkedIn and you're like, oh man, I'm starting from a base of, less than 1,000 followers. how do I begin to create content, or how do I begin to create a follow account that can go above and then create a rippling effect? Because essentially, if you think about it, like with social media in general, whether or not it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, it's a rippling effect. So the drop in that kind of social media ocean creates a ripple. And so it's like, well, how do I create impactful drops? So it creates a longer lasting ripple, right? And what some people go down the route of posting continuously. Like I see people post every day. I'm not really that type of person. Like you said, like I post 2 or 3 times a week. And over time I've figured out like, oh, I only post on certain days and I leave certain days out for certain things, or I make sure like I post within, and use a certain hashtag. So hashtag is probably a big one that I would definitely use. And especially if you're a salesperson, hashtags being, you can be generic, but also you can be very specific in terms of the hashtags to enter into conversations. And it goes back to what you said before, which was begin to engage with different people within your peers or within your target audience, what they post, how they post, who are engaging, give them proper engagement, not just like, oh, great share, and tag their name. It's more like, more thoughtful answers that come through. So I think your advice is really, really sound. So thank you so much, Bob. And for anyone who's watching, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to pumping more of these out. Let me know if that's something that you like too. And for anyone who wants to reach out to you, Bob, where are the best channels to reach out to you by?
Yeah, as we have talked so much about this, the best channel to reach out to me is of course on LinkedIn.
Yep, and I'll put your details in the show notes below. So thank you again, Bob, for your time, giving me heaps to think about post this podcast episode when it comes to my LinkedIn game. And for anyone who's watching, listening, I hope you guys have a ton of notes and value that Bob just dropped in. And for everyone else, big thank you. I'll see you on the next episode.